Hey, folks, welcome into the July 8th edition of the Pixie Dust podcast. We've expanded our conversation to have 3 people in it, and this might be the first time that has happened. We've got Tony Colombo in here along with Erika Murphy and myself. Tony, thank you for joining us tonight. It's good to have you here.
Oh, I love being here. I love talking about Disney.
Isn't it better? Isn't it to you need to talk about something other than what's going on in the world? And this is what there is to discuss.
This is a break from the craziness, and I look forward to
it. Well, Erika, there's some big news that took place today, and I want to give you an opportunity to kind of lay the ground for what's new, what can people do, what can people do. Let us know.
Yeah, so it's a big day. They started the phase reopening. They welcomed the cast members back over the last couple days, yesterday and today, and it's been really great to kind of see the behind the scenes video of the cast members being welcomed back and just how much joy there is just being back to the magic. So we all know the phased reopening is starting this weekend, where people are being welcomed back into the park with current reservations. But the big news that came out today is the reservations for 2020 are opening back up tomorrow morning. So if you have thought about if you had a spring trip planned and had to get rescheduled because of everything and wasn't able to get on the books, as of tomorrow, we are able to book new 2020 reservations. So it's big news. They released about the Food and Wine Festival being extended, which is a huge thing. So if you want to go see that, if you want to be a part of this Disney history of everything that's going on, tomorrow you can book a 2020 package.
So when you say 2020 package, you mean you can book a room in 2020 and you can buy tickets in 2020, which is a huge distinction. As of up until now, there are people who actually had stays booked, but they had not purchased their tickets yet. And they were going, what am I going to do if I go there? And you need to have a ticket in order to get a park reservation, which is a new thing. How do I reconcile this? That's a big development that tickets are going to be able to be purchased.
Yeah, and we talked about in the last podcast about the new Park Pass reservation system that just came out too. So now, in addition to ticket sales, you also need a park reservation to whatever park you're going to visit on what day. And we went over that last one. So if you missed last podcast, go back and see. We did a little video on it. But the good thing is that we have a way to see availability before you book tickets. So you're not just going to book a package and then go in for your park passes and everything's sold out. So we can look at, if you're looking for November 1st through 6th, and then we look at the park pass system and everything is booked up, you can alter your dates before you buy the package.
That's a big deal. You don't want to end up going to Disney World and finding out you can only go to, not to pick on Animal Kingdom at all, but Animal Kingdom every day, and you're never going to get to go into Hollywood Studios, which is the smallest capacity, from what I understand, of the parks, and probably the most sought after. So one of the things you said there, I want to touch on, it's going to be kind of the center of this conversation today, because so much of the Disney realm that I am soaking in, which is Facebook groups and everything, it's been kind of negative. It's been kind of down in the dumps, but everything is kind of that way. I think it's the effect of this virus that has lasted so long. I have booked my trip with you. My parents are booking their trip with you, and Tony has 2 trips. As far as I know, we didn't pregame this. Tony has 2 trips booked this year with Erika. Tony, are those still, as of July 8th, are those still on?
As of July 8th, those are still on. I will say that we are keeping a very close eye on things like this podcast and other YouTube or just news outlets that cover Disney stuff, and really going to be watching the Fry family and their upcoming trip to see what it's like, because our first of 2 is scheduled at the end of August, last day of August, very beginning of September. So that one is the one that could suffer the consequences of this if the reports of the reopening aren't positive, then the next one isn't scheduled until almost Christmas, middle of December. So
lots will change.
Hopefully by then, none of us are really worried about that one, but we are keeping a close eye on the one here at the end of the summer and hope that everything goes as smoothly as it looks like it's going to go. And I would have a lot of confidence in Disney to to make it a really positive experience, as we've talked about many times here. There may be some limitations, but I would guess that they're going to go above and beyond and do everything they can to ensure that guests have a great time. So hopefully that's the case, and we'll be going twice in 2020.
So I have to say, so my trip, as Tony pointed out there, my trip starts at the end of July, about 9 days after all the parks are open. And I have been watching every news alert that comes out and seeing, because I'm waiting for them to drop the hammer. I'm, watching what's going on in Florida, and we say to my kids, 17 days until we go to Disney. If they're open, there's nothing out there right now that is suggesting that they aren't going to open, other than nobody would have thought that they would have closed to begin with. And I am prepping my children for the letdown that we would all feel in the event that something like that would happen. I don't actually believe that's going to be the case.
How long did we know, or how much heads up do you remember getting when they closed in March or whatever it was at the beginning of this? Did it come out of nowhere, or did we know for a while, or I can't remember?
I have
came out of nowhere.
I have very good friends who it was like that day, and the next day they were leaving first thing in the morning on an airplane, and they closed. Like that is sucker punch type.
It was like a 3-day. They gave them like a 3-day lead. So if you were leaving the next day, and they were going to be closed 3 days, I mean it was very, very quick. Same thing with and actually Disneyland closed before Disney World that came out. So we were all kind of on the edge of our seats, just waiting for that news to come out. And my husband and I have gone back and forth about this, that, he's like, he's the glass half empty guy and I'm the glass half full girl. So, he's like, he doesn't know, he's not confident that Disney's going to stay open with everything that's going on. And my thought on it is that they just brought back the cast members this week. So I was kind of on the edge of my seat with everybody else being like, oh gosh, are they really going to open? Are they really going to do this because of everything that's been kind of going on? But, I can't imagine that they would have brought everybody back. And the videos I've been watching have been so promising. Disney, above anything else, it's a scary world out there. I'm not going to say that it's not, but if there's any place in the world that I'd want to be right now, it's Disney. The precautions that they have taken, just watching, some of these videos with the, not just social distancing and the masks, we know about all of that, but they've put plexiglass partitioners in between the queues so that even when you're walking, because the queues kind of wind in and out, so you're not even doing that. The buses now have partitions and everybody's waiting by number. So they took a little bit longer reopening, and I think that's because Disney is going to do it right. They're going to not cut any corners. They're not going to skip out on anything and rush being open. They're going to make sure that if they open, it's going to be the safest, most magical trip that it could possibly be. And even though it was just the cast members that came back, they were showing, they had the, excuse me, a tickle, not Corona.
I was going to say,
now it's like, you have a tickle in your throat. And
don't give them any reason to close.
We're gonna blame you, Erica. That's what we're gonna do.
But you know what, Erica? I was gonna say, to your point, knowing how many people there are that are employed by Disney World, and when you say they brought their cast members back, this isn't like a place like a Six Flags or any other regular business that's like, hey, let's all come back to work, and then if it's not right after a couple weeks or a week, we'll just send everybody back. Not only do the people that visit Disney World come from all over the country and all over the world, the people that work at Disney World come from all over the country. So a lot of people are coming back to Florida to go back to work. And I agree with you. It's a big step and a big sign that they are committed to reopening, because it's not like any other business or organization or theme park that, if it doesn't work, we'll just close it up and send everybody back home. There's a lot involved with stopping the machine and starting the machine, and the fact that they've engaged and they're starting the machine is a big sign, and I think it would be very difficult for them to shut down again. So that's good for us.
So I want to reiterate something that we kind of discussed here at the beginning. We've got some more people joining us. If you download this podcast at radio.com, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast from, I want to reiterate that the announcement came out today that you can now book 2020 trips. So you can starting tomorrow. So I'm just assuming that the majority of people listening to this
as of live right now.
As of July 9th. That will be the case, Thursday, July 9th. And you can contact Erika at magicexpeditions.com or the Pixie Dust Podcast Facebook page. You can just message the page right there, and Erika will discuss with you what your options are. She's done that with many listeners to the podcast already. And I've gotten all rave reviews from people, including Tony and myself, who have used her as our travel agent.
And will every time.
Yes, for sure. So, but what I wanted to really focus on today, now that we know that these trips can be booked, we know that there's a limited capacity. We know that you don't get to park hop. You can't go to Magic Kingdom in the morning and Hollywood Studios in the evening. We know that there isn't going to be a happily ever after, which is the fireworks show at Magic Kingdom for now until when they decide. So for the time being, that's the case. Fantasmic at Hollywood Studios, my favorite. That's a big sad face for me. Won't be happening. So they've pulled back on a lot of these. The Epcot show, the Rivers of Light at Animal Kingdom won't be taking place. But there are a lot of things, in my opinion, that if you are somebody who is looking to take a Disney World vacation, you love Disney, and you're sick and tired of being at home, I think that in its own right now might present you a chance of a lifetime to go visit Disney World. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in July. They've eliminated fast passes. You might be watching this podcast for the first time and go, I don't even know what a fast pass is. Well, it's like an appointment for a ride, and there are two separate lines. There's the standby queue and the fast pass queue, and you have to book those fast passes 60 days before you even show up to your trip. If you're staying on property, 30 days if you were staying off property. It just requires so much more planning. That's not going to be the case going forward. You need to do two things. You need to find out where you're going to sleep, and you need to find out what park you're going to go to when you get up in the morning or whenever you venture out into it. And then after that, I think we're going to be dealing with some extremely minimal crowds. And I think that the way we're going to be able to maneuver through the parks, I really think that this presents the opportunity to have what I would call a relaxing Disney World vacation. Which
do we
I
know
love
that
every
number?
ounce of it, but it's not relaxing. No, they won't publish that. They'll never publish it.
Like what the percentage is that they're going to allow in or anything like that?
No. So Shanghai,
we don't know actual. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, Shanghai was operating at 25%, and they said they were going to be operating significantly lower. So I would have to. I said I wouldn't speculate, but I would speculate that it's below 25% because that's what Shanghai released.
That's incredible. I mean, that's incredible. And I don't like to give up anything. I don't like to give up any part of my Disney experience. But the crowds. Not seeing fireworks I hate that. Fireworks is such a big part of it. Yeah. And some of the different shows and parades and things like that are such a big part of it. But the idea of a Disney World trip with less than 25% of the people there is a dream come true that I'm willing to sacrifice some of those other things. And you know what? Disney people, the hardcore Disney people will understand this more than anyone. This is how weird hardcore Disney people are. And I'm one of them. So I'm not throwing stones. I'm not casting aspersions. It's like a badge of honor to be there or experience times that are very unique that nobody else gets to. It's something that you want a ride to break down while you're on it, so you can be walked out through it and see what it looks like up close and as you're going through, and it's like an experience that Disney people love. The whole crane castle thing, like, oh, I was there and I got to take a picture with the crane that was working on the castle that they bring in whenever they're renovating the castle. So this is like one of those badge of honor, once in a lifetime moments. Like, I was there the year that there was only 25% when the crowds were so low. Like, this is like a major check mark Disney merit badge for the super geeks that can say that they got to experience this one and only time that there was 20% of the people in the parks. So like there's a lot of positive ways. That's not just spinning it in a positive way. Like, there's some legitimately very beneficial and positive things to experiencing Disney in this condition.
Yeah. I completely agree. I want to get to this comment here real quick. It's from Travis, who's watching on the Annie Fry YouTube page. Travis says, went years ago and had so much anxiety after it was over, needed a vacation from the vacation. I can see that.
That's why you need Erika. That's why you need Erika.
You need to use Erika. And maybe this is the time to go, because it's going to be a slower pace. You are going to be forced into something that is slower. And it's like I've said for the last, month of episodes that we've done. When you go to Disney, I feel like you are maximum going to do like 25 to 30%. If you work really hard of what Disney has to offer. Disney is paring down what your options are.
That's if you go for a week.
Yeah, you're still not going to be able
for 15 or 20%.
You're still not going to be able to do it all. So I think it's a fair trade-off. Erika, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things that I've heard as kind of a bummer is that people are saying that, there's no fireworks and there's no parades, which is definitely a bummer. And when I said they brought the cast members back, they did kind of a preview for the cast members to where they could ride the rides and they could kind of really experience what the park's going to look like when they open for guests. So I've been watching some of those videos, and, the character meet and greets are a little bit different, but some of the videos I was watching, the characters are still in the park. You're not going to go to Disney and not see Mickey Mouse. He's going to be there greeting you. They still had, and I'm going to butcher this. What are they called? Cavalcades?
Cavalcade.
Thank you.
Cavalcade.
Yeah. Spirit jersey.
I wore my, wait, time out. Tony Colombo, last time we did an episode of this, I wore my 1980s throwback Cardinals jersey. She's like, Annie, I love your Spirit jersey. I'm like, this is a baseball jersey. This is not she's like, well, you have Spirit for your team. I'm like, this is the Disney nerdery that you will get on the Pixie Does podcast. And I'm wearing my Cardinals Spirit jersey.
I've never even heard of that.
The Spirit jersey?
A Spirit jersey? No.
Oh
boy.
Stand by. Stand by. I will show you one shortly. We have set the spectrum of nerdery in here. Tony, who's never heard of a Spirit jersey, and Erika, who thinks anything that is like supportive of anything is a Spirit jersey. Good grief. I'm gonna find you one. I'm gonna show you right now. Hold on.
All right. I can't wait. I can't wait. So camera's on you, Erika, while she changes. Go.
I see that. So we're going to talk about the cavalcades. So they were still having the characters parade through the park. Yeah. So you would see, there was a video of Merida going by on this beautiful giant Clydesdale, and the trolley was going down Main Street, and it had Piglet and Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, and Tinkerbell was coming by on her giant chest, and so you're still seeing these little mini parades. Treasure chest, yes. And I kind of almost prefer that, because when you don't get me wrong, I love the Festival of Fantasy. It's one of my favorite parades. That it's no old school, which we talked about. Spectrum Magic will still always be my favorite. But I mean, when you see these parades, there's so many the crowds are huge. You're elbow to elbow with people. You can't really see anything. It's hot. So, kind of just having these little sparks of magic throughout the day. Disney is not going to let you miss out on anything. So even though the parades and fireworks and character meetings have kind of taken a pause, Disney is not going to let you feel like you've missed out on any of these things. So you're still going to get a glimpse of the characters. You're still going to get to see these little pieces of magic. And I mean, I'm sorry, if I was walking down Main Street and saw Merida on a giant Clydesdale, I would much rather do that than see her on a float. So I'm really excited. Spirit jersey.
It's a sweatshirt.
It is a sweatshirt. It's a specific style of sweatshirt. They're like oversized.
Oh,
but they're all this style.
Okay. All right.
Spirit jersey. I highly recommend them. Super comfy. I've seen a few for men, but ladies, your teenage daughter would love one. I'm sure you should get her one. There you go.
In North County, we call those sweatshirts.
North County, St. Louis. So I want to ask about how many of you have watched any of the YouTube videos? You're kind of commenting about them, Erika. Tony, have you seen any of the stuff coming out? Because there have been cast previews of the parks that have allowed cast members before they open up, which I believe tomorrow is the annual pass holder preview.
Yeah.
And so I've been watching it. I saw that the stretch room for Haunted Mansion, you just walk through it. It no longer stretches. And some people are like, it's not an elevator. Well, no, it's not an elevator. From what I understand, the one in Disneyland is that I had not heard that before. But Tony, did you guys do Haunted Mansion when you were there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's one of the staples.
Yeah, I think the stretch room being removed, it's like there are some people who are like, that just takes all the magic out of the ride for me. I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, really?
Oh, you cut out there for a second. You cut out there for a second on my end. I didn't hear you say that. So they are eliminating the stretch room, I guess, because
you walk through it.
Stand so closely.
Yeah. They say
I said the same thing with Flight of Passage too. The Flight of Passage, you're just walking through.
Hey, they can do anything they want to Flight of Passage because this guy's not going on it. So you guys.
You two are the wimpiest.
You got that right.
Disney wimps. You do stay for the second Flight of Passage pre-show. So there's one where it's just a holding room. But again,
if there's only 20% of people there, then those rooms, I mean, the stretch room and the Haunted Mansion is part of the ride, right? It's part of the experience.
Yeah,
so that's a little bit different. But a lot of those types of things are set up as a way to kill time while you're waiting in line. And which is great because it helps. It certainly helps the line go by faster and gives you something to do and occupy your time and your mind and your kids while you're standing in line. But if you're not standing in long, you don't need those things. So, if you're just going to go through it quickly anyway, then they're not as important.
Erika, can you talk a little bit about the restaurants? I was pretty impressed with the amount of restaurants that are going to be open. I know a lot of menus have shrunk, and I look at each one and I feel like I'm like bobbing and weaving through a minefield of, oh no, Liberty Tree Tavern, please don't tell me they're taking away the Thanksgiving dinner. Oh, nope, they've taken away most everything else, but not that. So excited for that. But of all of the restaurants that aren't going to be open, the character dining experiences are not going to exist except for Topolino's for breakfast, and for Garden Grill apparently is still going to exist as a character dining experience that'll be modified. But a lot of Epcot is going to be open. The Magic Kingdom restaurants, the Hollywood Studio restaurants, for the most part, are going to be open. Animal Kingdom as well. And it is different for me to look at these restaurants and menus not in a credit capacity because I'm used to using the dining plan.
Yeah,
I just got to completely reconsider how we're going to go about doing this. But what was your reaction, Erika, to the lists that kept coming out of this is going to be open and that's going to be open and this is going to be closed?
Yeah. Of course there's always the kind of tug at the hearts where the biggest impact for me was Be Our Guest, because I loved that cheat of having the quick service lunch or breakfast because I just love eating in the castle. So that is now a prefix menu. It's moved to the 3-course like it has for dinner, and it's a signature dining. So that quick service aspect of it was taken away. But like I said, I think that Disney's doing a really good job of keeping the magic alive. So a lot of your favorites are still going to be there, even though it's going to look just slightly different. I have heard, even before all of this, about Topolino's Terrace, their breakfast, their character breakfast. I know we joked about this before because I was excited to see them in their artist costumes and outfits. And I've heard really, really great things about that breakfast. So I'm really excited that that's still on there.
When I'm paying in credits, I'll care more about their outfits. When I'm paying in dollars, I don't care so much about their outfits. That's just me.
I'm really excited to see Poet Minnie. So with all of those things, I think that I'm really excited about the level of normalcy and things that they're trying to keep in pace. And then not only that, but with Epcot Food and Wine, I mean, that's going to be a huge game changer. The fact that it's extended all of the, if you've ever been to the Food and Wine Festival or really any festival at Epcot, they have the restaurants that will be open, but they also have little
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
What's going on up there?
I don't know. I'm downstairs in my house, and apparently whatever's going on above me is.
Maybe it's best that way.
If it was loud enough to get through the microphone, I mean, imagine how loud it was here. I had to check and make sure they didn't come through the ceiling.
See little feet dangling.
This is what happens when you have.
We all have little ones right now.
A little house with a lot of kids. So
yeah. It's like a shoe. You have some.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited that those are still open. And the Food and Wine Festival, if you've ever been, the restaurants are open in Epcot in each pavilion, but then they also have tents that they put out more kind of in the walkway that gives you more of a sampling menu. So you don't have to have the full dinner. You can kind of graze and try the different cuisine from the different pavilions, which is it's my hands down favorite time to go. So I'm really, really excited that they extended that and given people more of an opportunity to try those different things too. The Food and Wine is very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that because that was in no way, shape, or form intended in our July trip that we were going to get to enjoy that, but we will now. So I'm pretty thrilled about it. I want to also comment a little bit on the rides that are going to be open. There are very few. I mean, I don't know that there's, other than if you want to consider the nighttime spectacular shows as an attraction, there's very few things that are left off the ride experience for people who are visiting, and everything is standby. And so I really do like the idea of I can ride anything I want at Disney if I'm willing to stand in a line and participate in whatever that line is. If it's going to be 45 minutes, or yesterday I saw at the cast previews, which I think the cast previews are going to be much smaller than a lot of the other previews that they have when they allow all the annual pass holders in. And then of course, when they let the general public come in, but it is Flight of Passage was a 5-minute wait. That's insane. Like the Flight of Passage is notoriously the longest wait at Disney World. Rise of the Resistance that hasn't opened, which is the brand new amazing ride. It is unbelievable in Hollywood Studios. My husband and I got to ride on that in February. That is going to be a standby line. And from what I understand, they're going to board. You're still going to go through all the pre-shows, Rise of the Resistance, but they're going to do it like per party, which is kind of interesting. Like, so I have a group of 7 going. So my 7 will go in, and then if there, what if there's one person? Because people will go through as a single. Yeah. Do they just go in and like, I'm gonna save the world myself?
Hey guys,
I'm not sure, but Tony, what's the biggest?
Freaking cool.
Yeah, it's Tony's dream. Nobody else there. What's the factors? You said you're waiting to see how my family enjoys our trip here in July. What's up? What's on your radar for, oh gosh, we have to be there, or nope, that's it, not happening?
Yeah, that the things that we're sort of hashing out right now, like the overall effect on your experience once you're there, like does not being able to no parades and no fireworks, and it sounds like the lines are going to be really short, but no, we're not going to know that until we see it, till it's happening. So are the lines really, are they going to be, are they going to be cut in half? Because that's not great. That's better, but not great. But is it going to be like
passes?
Right. Oh, exactly. Or is it going to be like what you just said, where it could be, just a matter of a few minutes for some of the biggest rides? So just seeing how the overall experience actually flows once it opens back up is, going to be what determines, what we do or not. It definitely, I'm kind of a optimistic person when it comes to this, and I have a lot of confidence in Disney and their dedication to providing a magical experience, no matter what. So I think that they're going to pull it off, and I think it's going to be great for everybody that goes. But we want to make sure. It's a lot. It's still a lot of money. It's still a lot of time. There's still a lot that goes into it, and I'm willing to give up some, especially if I'm getting some in return. But I'm not willing to give up a whole bunch. So that's kind of what we're looking for. I did want to ask a quick question, if I could.
Yeah.
We announced at the beginning of this podcast that 2020 reservations are opening back up starting tomorrow, which is July 9th. Do either of you have an idea on how many availabilities there still are in 2020? Because I know how far in advance we book and you book, and everybody I know that has ever gone to Disney books, and thinking that if most people are still holding on to their reservations for times that the parks haven't closed, I'm almost surprised that if they're going to go down to 25%, I'm almost surprised that that's not already full with the people that are still, like me, holding on to our spots that were available. Do you have any, for anybody who may be listening and thinking this?
Yeah.
I just want to know, because there could be somebody listening to us that's like, oh, I want to take advantage of these short lines and book a trip in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Do they need to do that like immediately because there's not very many spots? Or, do you have any sort of idea on that?
Eric, I'm interested in what you have to say on this, but I do have a theory that that Disney has worked, and I've talked to both of you about this. I think Disney has put out every ounce of, air quotes, bad news that they could put out because they wanted people to cancel. The more people that cancel, the more they could. It's much better to invite people to make reservations back in than it is to have to purge. Like, I don't even know how you choose. You pick and choose who's going to get to come and who isn't. So I have a feeling that there are quite a bit of people who
and they haven't done that, right? They haven't. If you had a reservation, as far as everybody here knows, if you have a reservation for when it opens back up, you're good to go, right? There's not like, oh, we're over capacity, so you didn't make the cut.
No, and I've even had people. So we know that the resorts are doing a phased opening as well. So when the resorts open, not every single resort is open when the parks open up. So I've had people that were staying that had a reservation already booked at a resort that's not going to be open, and we contacted Disney, and they actually got either a lateral, or in one case, I got a really, really good upgrade for them because the resort that they were booked at was completely booked. So I'm sorry, not booked. It was closed. So because I think it's Coronado is not opening up until like October, and
NBA.
If speculation is because of NBA, I know sports, spare jersey. But I just jumped on to our travel agency site right now.
She knows Disney, folks.
I do know Disney. I do not know NBA. My husband was telling me about, some of the things that they were doing, and I was like, I could see this person. I would probably notice that they were very tall and be like, oh, maybe they play basketball. But
you should play basketball.
No idea. So I'm looking at the availability calendar on our agent site right now that shows the Disney Park Pass availability, like I mentioned earlier, that we can look and see what the availability is. And it goes off of yellow is if there's some parks available, and green is all parks available. You're probably not going to be able to see this. So the first week that they open, July 11th, 12th, 13th, Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom are open. Disney Hollywood Studio is booked that whole week of the July 13th. But then we go over to July 20th, and it still has availability on every single park. So then I go over to August. August has all green, all availability. September, October, November, December, all green for the Park Pass. So while we don't know how many people are current, how many they're letting in, or how close this is. I mean, it could be green and there's 10 reservations left. But
Right.
as of right now, every single park is open through the rest of 2020. So
probably not a good idea to wait though. If you think you want to experience Disney at this time, take advantage of these short lines.
Well,
It's never a good idea to wait, right? I mean, it's always good advice to, if you know you're ready to go, you better get it on the books.
Yeah. And we know, even just with previous promotions and things that are coming out, that when they do free dining or they do a room promo, they only release a certain number of rooms. So once they're sold out, they're sold out. And I would only assume that they're also limiting the number of rooms that are sold at each one of the resorts. And with not every single resort being open as they open the parks back up, if you want a standard room and if you don't want to, pay for a premium or a deluxe hotel, if you want to go and stay at a standard room at Pop, I think that those are going to fill up very, very quickly because of the limited numbers. So I'm not so much worried about the park passes, but I have some not concerns, but I would want to get as soon as possible if you want to get a standard room at really any of the resorts, because those are the first ones to go.
So as Tony pointed out here, if you are somebody who is thinking like, I want to get out and go somewhere, I will add in to what Tony said. Like, I trust Disney. I trust them to make the right decision. They've got a lot riding on making the right decisions and a lot riding on not making the wrong decisions. But if you are somebody who wants to make or even discuss or consider making a trip yet this in 2020, it's not opening until July 9th, which as of time of recording is tomorrow. Erika, what do people need to do in order to make that happen?
So you can reach out to me. I am a huge advocate, obviously, for working with a travel agent, even if it's not me. Especially with everything that's going on right now, you want that advocate in your corner. So if you have a travel agent that you know or someone that you've worked with in the past, reach out to them. I would love to work with you. You can message the Facebook page here at Pixie Dust Podcast, or you can email me directly at Erika@magicexpeditions.com. When you book a reservation with Disney, all you need is a $200 fully refundable deposit, and that will go towards your balance. So even if you're just thinking about going over Christmas time, I would say let's get it locked in tomorrow. It would take a $200 deposit that will secure your room. It will secure the park pass availability. And then you have until 30 days before arrival to make your decision if you want to continue to go or if you want to cancel or change, and then you get a full refund. So if you've paid half of it off, or even if you'd only paid the $200 deposit. So tomorrow to book, all you need is a $200 fully refundable deposit to lock in your vacation.
So if you are thinking you want to go and then in 2 months some circumstance changes at home with a virus, or maybe you've determined that you aren't as confident getting closer to the date as you were before, then you can cancel and you can get your refund as long as you do it within 30 days of your travel time. So, but you do hold your place and your entire reservation for just $200, which is refundable.
Correct. And I had somebody, it's the world that we live in now, that what if, God forbid, somebody were to get sick or something were to happen? And even before all of this happened, I had a family that was going that 4 days before they left, their daughter came down with the flu. And so they're like, we're not going to go and spend all this money, but they were within the 30-day window. Disney moved their vacation to another, like we booked it out, I think it was a week or two after that. And we just moved everything. So there was room availability. So their whole balance, even though it was in that 30-day window, you're not going to lose it. If something were to come up.
Basically got store credit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then they just moved their trip and everything was fine. And we do have third-party insurance that we work with, that we could certainly give you a quote for as well, that I know sometimes that peace of mind, but Disney does such a great job of their, I guess, insurance policy and refund policy, especially with all of this that has gone on, just to kind of give you that peace of mind.
Yeah. Rob here says Rob is watching on the Annie Fry YouTube page. He says, in my honest opinion, Disney is discouraging guests coming by instituting all of the restrictions, cancellations, park reservations, eliminating park hoppers, shows, fireworks. Less guests equals less potential problems. I will agree with that.
And less expectations.
Yeah.
They're lowering expectations because they know what a full-blown Disney experience looks and feels like, and they know they can't deliver that exact thing. So I do think that they highlight the negative to a certain extent because they want to lower expectations and not overpromise, like, oh, it's going to be the same Disney magic you always are used to, and then people will get upset because it's not. And so I think
smart and honest.
It is smart. Yeah, and honest, right?
And for somebody like Tony and I who have gone, Tony and I are very new to our Disney passion. Both of us went for the first time with our families in 2018, and we just fell in love with it. And Tony and I both work for the same radio station, and we do news talk radio for a living. And it's a tough world out there right now. It is not something that is relaxing to talk about. So this is where we get to. I mean, I'm happy to be employed, but it's rough. And
the radio station doesn't suck. The news sucks.
Yeah, that's for sure. Before I got two things before we wrap up here. I was trying to get to this before, but this is where I want to show people. This is the Disney Park Pass availability here, where you can see what parks would be available for any specific day. And there's also, this is really important, there are 3 tiers of tickets, ticket availability, and one of these pots of availability can fill up while the other ones don't. Because you can see here, if you were just a theme park ticket visitor, so you just wanted to buy a ticket, or you had tickets that weren't used and you're trying to get a park reservation for later on. Obviously, the 15th is when all parks are open. And if you click on the 15th, you could go to any of the parks except for, let me get this off of here. You could go to any of the parks except for Hollywood Studios. So it's not as if you couldn't attend one of the parks. Annual pass holders, this is significantly different. You could go on the 30th, and the only place you could go is Epcot. Once you get into August, there's some availability, but not all availability. But this is where you need Erika in your corner. When you go to Disney Resort guests, once all the parks are open, you can go where you want to go, and you can do what you want to do. So as you can see here, if you are wanting to get into the parks and you're wanting to have the vacation be the way you want it to be, if you get in now with Erika and have that conversation started and discuss, the wants and needs, as soon as you book that trip, she can walk you through how to make these park reservations yourself. It's one of the only things that you really have to do yourself. And from what I understand, that's because you have to agree to a COVID, legal, if you get COVID, it's not our fault. Is that correct, Erika?
Yeah, you have to acknowledge a COVID waiver, which I think is going to be a norm for everything moving forward.
Yeah.
If you have to get gas, sign a COVID waiver.
Exactly. So that's just something that I wanted to show you the difference in if you hear people or if you see people talking like you can't get into the park you want. If you are a Disney Resort guest, and I would highly encourage you to contact Erika. You can message the Pixie Dust Podcast Facebook page. Erika will get that right away, and she's very eager to have those conversations with you, and also very not pushy. You will be able to have that trip that you want to in the confines of the restrictions. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and Tony, you're not much of a cruiser, right? You're not a cruise guy.
Mm-mm.
I'm not a cruise person. So I don't really I don't swim in these waters, so to speak. But Christopher on one of our Facebook Lives says, when will Disney cruises be available? Are they discounting them at all from the cruise scares during the pandemic? I don't know, Erika, if you can talk at all about cruise lines, but for the people who have been, people are always saying to me, oh, you got to do a Disney cruise. And I'm like, do I? I can go to Disney World and just be fine.
Yeah. So we've talked about, I get really motion sickness, so I don't do well on a boat. However, the Disney Cruise Line it's like none other. They are booking sales right now. So for 2021, there is availability, and they have released some promotions just based on everything that's going on. Now, with cruises, it's always best to book early. So it's the same situation kind of as this, that once the standard rooms book up, then the more expensive rooms kind of, it's a tiered thing. So it is definitely...
I just spilled my water on my laptop. Are we still here?
Is that water?
And that's a wrap.
And this is Pixie Dust After Dark.
Yeah, it's water.
Yes. So cruises are available to book right now. They have postponed. Disney does have an Adventures by Disney, which is
Yeah, my
more
husband
of
wants
a
to go to Montana on the one of the
yeah.
by Disney.
Yeah. There, I mean, it's I've never done one, but it looks, I mean, it's Disney. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's gotta be amazing. Those have been postponed. We haven't been able to book any of those, but cruises, we can look and see what port you want to sail out of and kind of go from there, but you can book now.
That's awesome. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I think that's a wrap for right now. I would say that I am going here at the end of July to Disney World with my family. My parents are joining us. My parents are very healthy people and they're in their mid 60s. And I have said to them, I'm not going to continue asking them to the point where they're like, shut up, Annie, fine, we won't go. But I keep saying to them, like, are you comfortable going? Like, I want to make sure that if you do this, that you are wanting to go. And they're like, yeah, we want to go. It's great. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. We've got masks that we have been practicing with at home. Our kids wear masks to church and they don't have any problem with it. So I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. And you're probably going to want to make sure that you're close by the Pixie Dust Podcast Facebook page, especially you, Tony, as you await the as you await our report. Because I might try to. I don't know what my schedule is going to look like. I have this feeling we're going to have a little more time on our hands than a traditional Disney World trip. But I might do one of these podcasts actually from Disney World and maybe do a live where I walk folks around and you can see what you can see. So
I'm going to need a detailed report.
We'll do one just for you, Tony.
Every day.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Tony. We invite you back anytime you are free. We appreciate it. Hope your child who fell on the floor above you is okay, or whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever that was is right. You know, I wanted to say this last thing when Erika was talking about the resorts earlier. I'm just as excited about being in my resort.
Yeah.
The Polynesian is what my family is in love with, and the idea of the Polynesian being 30% or 20%, whatever it is, the pool being only have 20% of the people in it. I mean, I'm as excited about that as I am about the idea of less people in the parks. Yeah. So, you know, hopefully when we start seeing all this stuff, you know, open up and roll out, that it'll be a really positive experience. I'm kind of leaning towards that's the way it's going to be. So
yeah, like you said,
crossed.
Changing your expectations, but there's still so much good that can come out of it. So I'm looking forward to it. Make sure you email Erika if you have questions. Erika with a K, Erika at magicexpeditions.com with your questions. And you can also message the Facebook page as well, the Pixie Dust Podcast Facebook page. And please, if you haven't subscribed yet to the Pixie Dust Podcast, you can do so on radio.com or wherever you get your podcast from. Erika Murphy, thank you. Tony Colombo, thank you. It's always great to talk to you guys, and we'll do it again real soon.